All right, so today we're going to dive into understanding security and really what's happening in the crypto space. A lot is centered around not only the custody of crypto, but also where are your tokens safe? And a lot of the transactions that you're doing, how are those safe? Kind of the future of where crypto is going. For all of you guys, it's going to be an interesting video today. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Joining me today is Asaf, Naim, and also Michael Pearl, who are the CEO and COO of a company called Kirobo. Now, Kirobo is an interesting concept. When we first did research, full disclosure, this isn't an ad, this isn't a paid deal. We're truly trying to find out a lot about what they're doing. So, first of all, guys, welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we did a special split up here, so I'll try to address to each of you. Let's get into it first. Asaf, let's go first and learn a little bit about Kirobo, what you guys are trying to do. What are the big challenges you're trying to solve currently in crypto?
So originally, we tried to solve the security issue. You know, when you have when you hold the entire asset in your hand, this is a huge responsibility. So basically, if you lose access to the money, or if someone, God forbid, died, so we thought it's unbelievable that it could happen. And also we tackled the problem of if you send money to the wrong address, right? It's happened every day. Millions of dollars sent every day to the wrong address. So we actually solved this problem. Accidentally, we actually discover a new technology that doesn't exist in the blockchain. And when you think about that and you understand that it's not exist in the blockchain, you're basically amazed, right? So the technology, we call that the FCT, Future Condition Transaction. Basically, if you look on the finance ecosystem today, so everything is if-then, right? When you have a credit card, so you have a credit line, and if someone will transfer you swap your car on Zimbabwe, so the security aspect will trigger and immediately the bank will call you. The same goes with recurring payment. And so everything, if you look deeply inside, you will understand that everything on the finance ecosystem is completely on if-then. And we discovered that this is not exist in the blockchain, so we actually invented this technology.
Okay, so that is a technology you guys call future conditional transactions. I want to dive into that here momentarily. A few more things before we get too into what Kirobo does. Obviously, these are big problems right now. Self-custody is really becoming a new trend because we have a lot of new people in crypto that are learning how to do self-custody for the first time, whether it's putting on Ledger, Trezor, hardware devices, and or even cloud wallets to a certain extent. Michael, I want to jump to you. When you look at, because this I think is crypto's identity crisis issue right now. We've had Luna, UST, obviously depegging and becoming insolvent. We've got Celsius on the ropes. Looks like they're probably going to go into either bankruptcy or some sort of receivership. The one thing that everybody is concerned with today is, can I trust the people that are holding my coins or that I'm engaging with? What are you guys doing trying to, one, establish that kind of trust with clients and customers like for Kirobo?
I think that you cannot really trust a company fully, even if you know the company, even if you do your research. And our philosophy is different. Basically, what we offer the people is to trust the blockchain, not to trust Kirobo per se. Obviously, we're biased and we think that we have an amazing solution. But we offer people, for the first time actually, the ability to trust the blockchain. Given the fact that we're non-custodial and we're fully decentralized, basically when you deposit the money in the liquid vault, which is our on-chain wallet, a blockchain-based wallet, the money is held by the blockchain and not by Kirobo, meaning that you can interact with the money. We created, obviously, the interface and we created the use case, but essentially the money is between you and the blockchain, hence it's perfectly trustless.
So Asaf, that kind of leads to my next question, and that is, how do you make money? Because if you look at some of the questionable tactics that were being done by Celsius in the DeFi market that have been somewhat being revealed right now as to what was happening with token custody. How do you guys make money if basically you're a gateway into the blockchain?
So first of all, we have few models. For example, if we are talking about the undo button, so the undo button is basically everyone can integrate with us. So this is like a basic model that is understandable. On the decentralized aspect, so the model is basically when you create FCT, future condition transaction, in this case backup or inheritance, basically someone need to trigger this transaction. Similar that if I will send you one ether, if the miner will strike, so the ether will not arrive to the destination. So same go with our technology. We have FCT, future condition transaction. When you create backup or inheritance, someone need to trigger this transaction. This trigger happen when basically you pay the activator in advance. Again, if nothing happen, you can retrieve the money back, but you pay this in advance in order to them to motivate to basically activate you. So we participate in this ecosystem, and we actually also will be activated a lot of FCT. So this is how the model. This is the model.
Okay, so the undo button, this would be a service that you would provide to other blockchain entities out there that essentially would utilize what Kirobo is offering when their users are utilizing, whether it's a send feature, something of that nature, to be able to, kind of secure a transaction. When you talk about inheritance and kind of this issue that some people are facing right now, where maybe someone is holding a large amount of digital assets that were accrued in 2017, and we're dealing with something where they want to pass it down into their family, into a trust, whatever it might be. Where would Kirobo step in a situation like that?
Okay, so let's understand first of all what is the liquid vault, right? Because in order to understand how it's facilitated, we need to understand. So basically, in the blockchain today, if you have wallet and this wallet has access to assets, and you lose access to this wallet, basically you lose access to the assets.
Sure.
So this is the problem that we try to tackle with the FCT. What we created is you take your wallet and then you deploy the liquid vault. This is the FCT, future condition transaction, basically operating system. And the assets sit there. So the only way to access the liquid vault is by the wallet that actually deployed the liquid vault and create it. So basically, if you lose access in this point, you also lose access to the asset, and then we go back to square one. Now, on the liquid vault, you can facilitate FCT. You can say, if wallet A doesn't have access, then wallet B will seize control, let's say in 6 months. So basically, the wallet becomes like an access point and not the main entry to or main custody to the blockchain, because the liquid vault hold that, and the wallet is simply an access point. So this is the backup. So you have two wallets, let's say MetaMask, that is that control the liquid vault, and then you have another ledger that sits somewhere in a safe. It doesn't have access right now. It will have access if someone will trigger the timer according to what you actually define. So this is the backup. The inheritance, basically, it's another step. So basically, we say if wallet A and wallet B doesn't have access, so the liquid vault himself starts sending money according to predefined destination. So we can have 10% to this address, 20% to this address, or even 100% to your Coinbase account. So basically, it's all triggered by the activator and completely decentralized.
So it's kind of I'm thinking like almost like a self-deposit box where you've got control of it, to be able to redistribute those funds based on whatever, setup your transaction, the future transaction, conditional transactions, which is interesting. That only resides within the vault, within the Kirobo vault. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So I've got vault access, and I can set those conditional transactions like you just mentioned to trigger at any given time, whether it's an inheritance issue or maybe it's a trust where I'm saying, hey, I want to deploy money to my children when they reach the age of 18, and that would be a time trigger that could be able to execute on that, send it to a Coinbase account that their, executor or their mother or whoever survivor has access to. Is that correct?
Exactly. We actually call that a liquid vault because it's not a vault that you lock the money and then you cannot do anything with that.
Right.
This is a vault that you can, through the vault, you can stake, you can mint, you can swap, you can do whatever you want. And you can even set the backup when you have $1,000 and it will activate when you have $1 million because it doesn't matter. It's not on the specific asset. The rules are on the vault himself. So it doesn't matter if someone creates inheritance when you have $10,000 and it trigger when you have 20 million. It
Right.
goes. It's on the percentage. So it's 10% to that, 50% to that.
All right, so I want to thank our sponsor today, and that is VAULD. If you guys are looking to build wealth automatically with crypto, you can earn, borrow, and trade. A lot of things happening here with VAULD, a ton of capability of getting weekly payouts, earning interest on your crypto, and of course, a lot of pretty good rates here as well. If you look at their fixed term deposits, Bitcoin coming in at 6.7%, even ETH at 6.7%, USDT at 12.68, and even USDC at 12.68. So some very good capabilities here. Also, if you look at their rates just in general, overall, you've got savings rates, all optional to where you guys can get into VAULD, interest rates you can receive as soon as you deposit your funds into VAULD. Savings rate APY at 4.6. If you go to fixed deposits, 6.7. So this is another one of those projects out there that is doing a phenomenal job in terms of being able to offer yield, because that is one of the things, passive income is one of the key elements around growing your crypto wealth in times like right now. So if you're looking at passive wealth and earning it, you've got to be able to select the right places. So make sure and check out VAULD. It's build your wealth automatically with crypto, earn, borrow, and trade. We're going to put some links down in the section below so you'll be able to find how to get to it, a little bit about it, and of course, be able to jump into VAULD. I was looking at your website here, access the liquid vault side of things, and then the safe transfer. This is where you'd be able to deal with the lost asset side of things when someone misappropriates the wrong address or they send it to the wrong set. Maybe they don't do a memo, whatever it might be. How does this work? Because it's like you mentioned, it's kind of an undo button for sending crypto assets. How are you able to execute that within the blockchain?
So the safe transfer, as you mentioned, it basically tackles one of the most basic problems that it's really unbelievable that we have that now on the blockchain and that nobody has solved it so far. The problem of sending money to the wrong address, obviously a very painful one. The way it works, it sounds quite simple. We created a unique transaction that basically encapsulates the transfer with a passcode, with a unique passcode that you generate. And in order to facilitate the transaction, you have to communicate the passcode to the recipient. Once the recipient submitted the passcode, the transaction has come through. But obviously, what happens if you send it to the wrong address? Then the false recipient, the fake recipient, so to speak, doesn't have the passcode, and then he can never collect the money. And you can basically undo the transaction basically until infinity, because the person from the other side cannot collect. And obviously, there's a bevy of problems that it solves the issue of sending it to a wallet or to an exchange that doesn't support the token. It's not only the wrong address; it has a bevy of different use cases, and all this is being solved. Also, issues of hacks and issues of phishing attacks that are also solved by this solution.
All right, so this is kind of a situation I think that would be very beneficial to a lot of different, whether it's exchanges or other partners out there, Would that be one of the key elements within your roadmap is developing the partnerships with major exchanges, or do you feel like this is going to be a destination point for users as they start to discover some of these security, layers and products that you guys are offering? What's the go-to-market strategy for how you guys are going to do business, over the next few years?
So first of all, the undo button already processed $1.8 billion. So people actually use that and a lot. We are in partner now with wallets and exchanges, and actually also custodian, because custodian like MPC provider are like Fort Knox, and we basically the brings to bring the money into the Fort Knox safely. So we expect that in the next 12 to 18 months, a lot of people will actually use the system and integrate the system. And most of the guys that actually transfer money do that with two transactions. So if you need to transfer 100,000, most of the time you will transfer $1, wait for the other party will approve that, and then you send the. So it's amazing that we actually we double the overload on the system, if you know what I mean, because every transaction is two transactions. So and again, once you transfer through this system, you're never going back.
Never going back to the old way. That's actually still being done today in ACH and even in wire transfers as a test wire into bank accounts. So you're exactly right. The methodologies across all fintech and just finance in general have been somewhat of a safety net for even securing old school Web 2 transaction level, much less what we're seeing here now on blockchain. So I definitely think the tech is doable. I was looking at your roadmap here. So you've got a white label solution. Did that go live for Q1?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got that out. Your DeFi support is done. Token economy, the DAO, which is the decentralized activation and staking for rewards, is that available now as well?
We are working on the DAO as we speak. The token economy is basically, I have to say that currently we are not selling to US citizens. The token is not for US citizens. But in order to pay for FCT, you need to have the token. This is what you pay with the token, and this token reserves as a reward mechanism to anyone in the community that will actually wants to activate the transaction for you.
Just to add to that, in the course of the next month, I think we will launch the activator system, so that people can start activating the FCTs, the future conditional transactions.
Right.
And basically, this is a major milestone for us to become fully decentralized and for our token economy to kick in. So that's the next step for us to launch it. It's going to be very, very soon.
I was looking at your Q2, the Moonstake integration, which would allow wallet staking to occur. How is that going to roll out, and is this on schedule currently?
So Paul, as you probably know, in crypto and in DeFi in specific, things are changing very fast. So we definitely have to update this because we have new things on our roadmap. Currently, I can tell you that what we plan to do in the next part of this year is to facilitate this FCT technology and to open it to developers and to companies that can develop use cases on top of us. We just came back from a major roadshow in the States and in Canada, and we met with a lot of influencing people in the crypto space. And actually, after talking to them and presenting the FCT technology, we keep getting more and more use cases. Yeah. Obviously, as you can imagine, we cannot develop everything on our own. So the idea now is to open the system to have other companies developing on top of us, independent developers developing on top of us. And basically, this will facilitate a whole range of new services based on conditioning that will be made for the use of the crypto users in the future.
If I might say, first of all, we want to create a marketplace, right? So everyone can create condition transaction, and then the user can facilitate use this condition transaction. But one aspect that I think that will make the audience understand what we are doing. Basically, Bitcoin has a unique way that you can program specific transaction. The entire Lightning network built on top of that. But it's very limited, so this is why Ethereum has been invented. But Ethereum, you need to create the smart contract, audit the smart contract, deploy the smart contract, build the UI, and there is always a logic failure that could happen. We estimate about 100,000 USD only for one single smart contract. So what we actually kind of doing is combining the Bitcoin and Ethereum capabilities in a way the developer now can program specific condition transaction without even writing one single line on smart contract. So imagine that the developer that he has capabilities, but he doesn't have smart contract capabilities. Basically, create a condition transaction using our technology without even writing one single line of code. It's not smart contract, so it doesn't need to deploy or to audit this, and immediately people can start using that. And one more thing, imagine that if you need to create smart contract for Uniswap and for SushiSwap and for OpenSea, so each one of them it's a unique smart contract. With our technology, you can have condition transaction on Uniswap, SushiSwap, OpenSea, combine them into one big mega transaction, and there you have it. You have like FCT, then condition transaction on a blockchain that doesn't exist today.
So Asaf, I'm kind of curious. A quick question for you on traditional banking that is most likely when regulation, at least what we see. Well, if you look at Canada, I mean, we've already got regulation in Canada for spot ETFs, and there's already a lot of movement now into potential banking integrations. We'll most likely see that here in the U.S., definitely in Europe and abroad. So the market, most likely over the next 5 years, we're going to start to see traditional banking roll into crypto transactions, potentially even be able to hold wallets, et cetera. Do you see the banking industry as being one of the key areas that could really utilize this, because their customers are very accustomed to these kinds of services, being able to back a transaction out, being able to secure a transaction, do these kinds of elements around, especially around conditional transactions? I think that would be kind of unique. Anything planned there?
Yeah, I think that your question is very interesting, because it's depend on where the market is going. So you mentioned Celsius in the beginning. This is example. Celsius is basically a new bank only on the Bitcoin, only on the crypto market. So the question is, how many people will actually want to put the money in a bank that has fully control on the money? This is the question. If this is the case, so the banks will enroll into a crypto bank, but it's not actually decentralized. If the bank will want to have the entire banking capability on a decentralized aspect, so they definitely need our technology. This is the only technology that can allow that. And I think there is a very cool model and finance model that the bank can implement, and basically making money using that technology.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who watch our show, they're fairly well astute in finance, but for many people, maybe the first time is when you deposit, whether it's fiat into any banking system around the world, that banking system is taking that fiat and then going out and loaning it or doing other services with it. In many cases, as many as 5 to 10 times the amount of what your original deposit is. It's no real different than what Celsius was doing it. They were just doing it in riskier pools. The riskier pool meaning, stake D, different varieties of DeFi that, lock things up. But that's happening in traditional finance as well. It's just their security and their liquidity is a little bit more, it's a little bit more vetted, and it has a little more ability. But the question will be in the future, will banks start to move into the decentralized state? We've talked to a couple of banks here on this show. that are hinting that that may be a service model that they're looking at in the future. So it's going to be definitely one to watch for sure. You guys are doing some really interesting work here. I think security, of course, is paramount right now. And I think custody, self-custody especially, is getting much more interesting for a lot more people. I think we're seeing more and more. I just noticed this weekend more news saying even more Bitcoin leaving exchanges. Simply means that's going into self-custody. What are your thoughts about self-custody as a trend? Do you think we're going to see more of it in the future?
Yeah, I think that if there's a lesson learned from this bull market that unfortunately seems to be over, is that you have to keep in mind where you keep your money. So if you remember the prior one, people were keeping their money mostly in the centralized exchanges. This time around, people held their money in their wallets.
Yeah.
But as you said, there were a lot of opportunities to do major yields in the different protocols. So people
Yeah.
basically submitted their money into the protocols, and their money was kept there locked. And now they understand that they cannot have it back, or they cannot have most of it back. The idea is to create an ecosystem that can facilitate the self custody, again, in a fully decentralized manner that, first of all, nobody can access and nobody has any control of, right? We saw all the freezing of the assets that took place, and we see that in time of need, assets can be frozen. We saw what you mentioned, Canada, right? We saw what happened the strikes and the demonstrations about 6 months ago, and we saw that people that believe that their money is in their custody is not really in their custody.
Exactly.
So there needs to be a viable solution that will detach the custody from the centralized entities and from entities that appear to be decentralized but are not really so. So that's why, and I'm circling back to your first question, the solution is the blockchain. We need to trust the blockchain, not to trust companies, not to trust entities, not to trust governments, right? And the solution should be the blockchain. And that was our philosophy from the get-go. And that's what we're basically facilitating, and that's what we bring to the table.
I think that very interesting.
Go ahead, Asif.
I think the very interesting point of view is to basically what Celsius did is farming in a way that a sophisticated guy can do it by himself, right? So they take their knowledge, basically did that on the protocol. The problem is that as we understand, they took like some other risk, a major risk. But imagine that the entire thing will be on someone wallet or vault, so you can see exactly what happened with your money. You can see exactly the leverage, and you have the only control. I think this is the future.
Well, full transparency on the blockchain is what makes it so unique. It does give it kind of the evolution. It's a difficult thing for a lot of people to get their heads around still. It's very early, in terms of the evolution of what we're going to see in traditional finance, and even today in what we've seen in the future of finance, especially. Obviously, we've got a lot of people that are kind of hinting that we could see more potentials around central bank digital currencies, which would only even more so centralize the situation. And to your point, I think that's going to be a challenge, because those are going to be scenarios that all countries, as well as billions of citizens, are going to be facing really in about the next decade. I think we're going to start to see some very big changes in the financial ecosystem. So it sounds like Kirobo is definitely in the right place at the right time. You guys are definitely doing some interesting work, but I want to thank you so much for stopping in on the show today. We're going to keep a close eye on how you guys are going and definitely developing, because this is an interesting tech. Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, so you guys are listening in over on the podcast right now. Maybe that is where you're catching our show, TechPath Crypto, but the best place is really right here on YouTube. This is the #1 place to catch all this stuff. Obviously, if you guys are not joined in on our Diamond Circle, make sure and jump in on that. It's a free group. It's also a great place to get, we drop a couple of emails, we do a few CPI releases there, which is our crypto power index ratings. All those kind of things are done right there. And of course, if you want to reach me, it's out on Twitter, and that's at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.